Hi, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to Pickspace AI Property Podcast. I'm Maor Cohen. I'm the founder and CEO of Pickspace, a smart platform that simplifies property management. In each episode, I'll speak with industry leaders to explore what's working, what's changing, and where the industry is headed. Let's jump into today's conversation with my guest, John Isakson, CEO of ARK Homes for Rent.
Good afternoon, Maor. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. So let's set the stage by understanding how ARK Homes for Rent came to be and what you've built so far.
Sure. So we're really a leader in the single family rental and BTR space. Our founder, John Cohen, started the company on the heels of the great financial crisis back in 08 and 09. And as our industry has evolved from the fix and flip to the fix and rent, to the buy and rent, to the BTR, Jordan really was on the leading edge of all of those transitions and evolutions. And in about, probably 3+ years ago, we pivoted to focus on BTR, and the company now has a almost 5,000 unit portfolio with a mix of BTR and SFR homes. I joined in December of 23 with the goal of growing and institutionalizing the platform much in the same way I had done at previous organizations.
So ARK focuses exclusively on newly built homes. So first of all, if you can take us to what led to that decision and how does the impact operation compare to managing older properties?
Sure. Well, I think on the one hand, it's probably obvious in that, your newer homes don't have the maintenance and the CapEx expenditures on an annual basis that older homes do. There's also less risk in terms of your operations. There's less risk of catastrophic failure from a roof or an AC system, which obviously would require, extraordinary CapEx or R&M. The second reason is a little more subtle in that, your more modern product has the features and conveniences and amenities that the market today is really demanding and paying for. And so by buying the newest homes built by the best developers and builders out there, we're getting a more competitive product in the market, which gives us an advantage from a marketing and a pricing standpoint.
Really understand. And scaling, you mentioned before, you scaled the business a lot. So scaling from 5,000 to 30,000 homes is not a small thing. What are the most resource intensive or stressful part of scaling in this market?
Well, it's always about the people, right? And so whenever you're scaling a company, one of the things that you have to be disciplined about is bringing the right folks on board to help you with that scaling. And that goes from the top down, right? It doesn't matter how fast you're growing. If you're not growing with the right people at every level of the organization, you're going to have pain points and you're going to have failures. So I think, first and foremost, it's having the right people in place with the expertise to execute the business. Secondly, fortunately, we have the capital to grow, and this is an environment where a lot of folks don't have dedicated, committed capital, and we do. So that gives us an advantage in the market. There aren't as many bidders out there as there were 2 or 3 years ago, which everybody is aware of. And that allows us to maintain investment discipline. And throughout the course of my career, which mostly spans multifamily residential real estate, which is adjacent to the SFR and BTR space, scaling is all about investment discipline. It's all about sticking with your investment thesis, buying the product that you know is going to work, and not either moving down the quality scale to go up in yield or moving outside of your investment box in order to get more product.
100%. I agree with that. But if we take a second and take a few steps backwards to look at the market trends, competitive landscape, if you can give us a little bit about how the competition, I know you mentioned that you have the capital and they don't, but let's talk about how you see the current landscape and what that means for operators like you with more investors entering into single family rental space. How do you see competition evolve over the next 2 to 3 years?
Sure. I think it divides up into the two categories in our industry, right? Which is the single family scattered site rental and the BTR. In terms of scattered site, that's a more mature market, although that is not to say it is completely mature, but it is more mature than the BTR market. There are institutional players, public players, large, medium, and small players. And, I think in that space, you're going to have what I would call incremental evolutions, right? So you've got all manner of operators. You've got fully integrated operators. You've got third-party management. You've got investors only. You've got investors who are asset managers that are maybe a little property management light. On the BTR side, it's much more nascent. And so the home builders haven't quite figured out the product. The smaller developers, I think, have a little bit of an advantage in terms of product design. And I think that's going to be a big differentiator in the next 3 to 5 years. BTR is not so simple as building the same home 150 times and selling it in bulk. Creating a community is much more what BTR is about than just having all the homes in a community. And so the amenities, the clubhouse, varied amenities, varied floor plans, having some architectural differentiation that gives the community a sense of place and a sense of style and not just a series of row houses. So I think there's a number of ways that it's going to evolve, but I think the BTR is going to be more dynamic, and I think the SFR is going to be a little more.
And you mentioned building communities as an essential thing to grow your, business. But I want to take us a little bit to the property management software and tech stack, how that helps you to build your communities. I'd love to shift gears into that, to the technology side of your business as home multiply. Give us like a little bit, what do you use? How do you use it? Etc.
Sure. So, for us, really one of our secret sauces is our proprietary app. And so all of our residents have direct access to our platform through their phones. So they can sign a lease, sign an extension, add a pet, add a roommate, do a maintenance request, pay their rent, including in cash, by the way. All of the sort of interactions that you would have with a property management professional in person, you can have on our app, which a lot of people enjoy the convenience of and prefer. The nice thing about the BTR communities is that we also have the folks on site so that if there's something that's out of the norm, or if there's a particular resident who wants to have an in-person interaction, we're able to do that as well. So we utilize AI mostly in our leasing and marketing. It helps us to convert leads faster. AI doesn't have to sleep. So if somebody's up at 2 o'clock in the morning and they want to know about one of our homes in Atlanta, they're going to get a response in about 30 seconds. We are also using AI on renewals. So far, that's been relatively effective. And, for us, technology is additive to the people. It's not in place of the people. And so we're using technology to enhance the productivity of our associates, but it's not replacing job functions.
I understand. So if I take what you said and summarize it, so basically you do use AI, but not to replace people, to actually enhance them and let them use the tools to multiply their capabilities, and then you can grow without actually hiring anyone new. Okay. And how do your teams currently manage things like move-ins, inspections? Is it an app that you build yourself, or you use a specific one?
So we built our app ourselves, so everything is proprietary. We own the whole thing, including the platform that it's on and the backbone. So for us, again, it's really an enhancement to the in-person interaction, and it's a convenience. We have probably, we probably have 6,000 residents or more on the application right now, and we've gotten universally good feedback in terms of how easy is it to use? Does it do what I want it to do? Am I getting good response when I do a maintenance request? Am I getting a good response when I send in a question to the property management team? And so again, it's really just, the app and AI are making us better at our jobs.
Very interesting. And not easy to build a tech that also operates you. Usually people use something else, but it's very interesting that you managed to build it by yourself and also to maintain it. So if you could wave a magic wand, right, and instantly fix one part of your operational tech stack, what would it be and why?
I think it would be our EDW database. The data today is so important, and it's not just the collection of data, but the use of that data. And owning so many individual homes with so many individual and discrete characteristics makes it very complicated to create a database that we can really use the data from to make decisions and to plan our strategy. We think we have a solution now after a couple of iterations, but boy, if I could wave a magic wand and make all of that operate exactly as I'm trying to make it operate tomorrow, boy, that would be fantastic. I think we're still a couple months away.
But it seems like you're totally on the way. So it's really good to hear. And now I'm going to continue with pain points and frustration. So we've talked about what's working. Let's dig into what's a grind. What do your teams hit the most friction day to day? Leasing, maintenance, communications, something else?
I think it's we have a very sort of geographically diverse portfolio. Lead generation in some of our smaller markets is still a challenge. Converting those leads in smaller markets can be more difficult. So if in an Atlanta or a Nashville or a Tampa, it takes me 15 leads to get to a lease. In a smaller market in South Carolina, it might take me 20 or 22. And so that's a pain point right now for us in terms of, getting more quality leads and getting to that lease a little quicker. Maintenance in smaller markets is difficult. You don't have the same vendor pool to pull from. So there are cost pressures there as well as availability pressures. It's one thing when you own the home and you're calling a vendor to come fix the toilet. It's another thing when you're renting and you have a professional management staff that you can call and yell at every hour that the plumber's not there yet. So I think those two are probably our biggest challenges that both center around the smaller markets that we've invested in.
That's good. Have you ever felt like technology actually made things harder or more disconnect?
That's a great question. I feel that sometimes, but I'm old and I'm not as good at technology as the kids are. But sometimes I think we want technology to do tasks that we don't like. But in reality, some of those tasks that we don't like, we're still better at than technology is. And so, when I think about the renewal process, we have, AI going out and doing our renewals, and we've had some success with this. But I do sometimes wonder if that personal touch, if that personal phone call that is a little bit more dynamic and a little less pre-programmed, if that wouldn't be a better result or that wouldn't increase our conversions. But again, that's a marginal question.
No, and that's a fair answer. So if I take it to tenant payments, collections, and revenue management, payments and collections are where the rubber meets the road, right? So let's explore that part of the funnel. What's your currently system to collect money? How do you do it? How do you take care of issues around that area? If you can share.
Collections and payments are probably one of our best developed systems and processes. Our delinquency is less than the big public companies who publish their statistics. In terms of bad debt, we run really, really low. I will say that when our asset management and property management team put an AI filter into the application process that required our prospective residents to input their bank information, input their pay stub, and allow the system to verify that information in real time, we did cut down on the number of applications that came in or that were completed, because you couldn't complete an application without submitting that information. But the number of applications that converted to leases went up, and our delinquency and skip to VIX went down. And so I really think that that's a great example of where technology has helped us and made us better. And like I said today, I have very few complaints about collections and delinquency. We're pretty tight there.
That's good. And would you, if you need to rate like how many of the people pay credit cards, ACH, others?
I don't know. I know what our collection percentage is. There's a part of me that doesn't care how it gets here. I just care that it gets
here. No worries. Just a lot of people start to use credit cards and that cost more, and usually property management push it on the tenant. So I wanted to get your perspective on that, but that's okay. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the contracts, like lease terms, renewals, alert, managed today. Is that a process like you do through DocuSign, or you also build a process for that aspect?
Yeah, so we have our application is through our web portal, and that's a 12 or 13 step process that you go through electronically. After that, once the application is accepted, all of your lease documentation is run through the app. So it's very easy, very convenient.
That's impressive. And how do you manage the software day to day? You have teams and developers?
Well, yes. I mean, our backbone is Yardi, right? So everything sort of runs through that. Our website and our application are just tied into that.
I see. So it's basically an application that you tied it to Yardi, integrated to Yardi. Got it.
It's just the portal to get to the account.
You've painted a clear picture of what challenges and growth ahead. Before we wrap up, what would the perfect property management system do for you that none currently can?
I think the challenge we have in our industry is because we're relatively new, there hasn't been an all-in-one solution. There is no one platform that you can put scattered site SFR or BTR onto, and it truly fits the business model. You know, what you're doing is you're either adapting something that's really foreign, or you're taking a multifamily platform like Yardi and sort of cobbling together a solution that works. And I think, you know, to me, and I'm not the one who would have to spend the money, but to me, if you could just start from scratch and build a platform that integrated, you know, your accounting system and backbone with your leasing platform, with your property management platform that had both, you know, your resident facing as well as your associate facing interfaces all sort of aggregated and interconnected. I mean, that would be fantastic. You know, today, all of us have various APIs and sort of Frankenstein systems that are pulling together things, whether it's out of Salesforce or Power BI or Azure or whatever it is. And it just gets, there's just a lot of opportunities for failure there, right? I mean, every time you've got to run through a translation point or an API point, I mean, there's just an opportunity for failure or mistake. And it requires a lot of sort of data scraping and auditing and process control just to make sure that everything's done right.
I agree. All in one, I think that's the solution. And building it new and from scratch, I think that would be the best case there. So I'm with you. So if you could give advice, you know, new generation, people come, people start their business. If you could give an advice to other operators trying to scale like ARK, what would you tell them?
Growing fast is not necessarily growing smart, and growing smart is more important than growing fast. You have to grow your organization slightly faster than you're growing your portfolio. If you let your portfolio get too big too quickly and you don't have the organization to manage it, then you're going to have issues, and that's going to cost you money. Size for the sake of size, scale for the sake of scale is not necessarily the answer.
Okay, that was great, and this has been a great conversation. For those who want to learn more about ARK Homes for rent or connect with you, where's the best place to reach you?
So we're on all the social media platforms. ARKHomesForRent.com is our website. Feel free to reach out, check us out. We have a space on the website for careers, and contact us, and look forward to hearing from anybody who's interested.
Okay, that's great. So, well, thank you again for joining us today on the Pickspace AI and Property Podcast. And thank you everyone for tuning in. If you found this insightful or helpful, follow us for more. And if you are ready to simplify property management, visit Pickspace.com. See you next time. Thank you.